Today we will cover client login in HarcourtsOne and how to use the property documents feature. This will also cover how to give access to clients for client login, what the client needs to do from their end to get that access, and also how to upload those documents onto client login. So let's begin. First of all, this is something that all of the sales agents can do for their own listings, and all of the office administrators can do for all the office listings. This is just going to help you manage your time better, where when people are asking for documents, prospective buyers are asking for documents, you can just direct them to a particular link or to client login to download those at any time. You should perhaps encourage the sales agents to use this function. Again, it all comes down to client experience, and it's just going to help everyone save some time and send these documents via email back and forth. So to access client login, first of all, on the left-hand side on H1, click on listings. You can, of course, change from here. You can either go for My Listings if you're doing the client login for one of your own listings as a sales agent, or if you're an office admin, you could go into My Office and see all the listings that your office has got. So if you're doing setting up client login for a particular listing, you need to be in that listing. So I'm just going to choose one of the listings, one of my test listings, which is 588 Chapel Road. Now the listing is going to open in a new browser. Now on this screen, you see all these different tabs. You will be able to see a tab which is called Client Login. Now the sales agents can see this tab only and only for their listings. Office administrators can see this tab for all their office listings, and you have access to set this up and make any changes for the sales agents if need be. So I'm just going to click on to Client Login. This is where you're going to do everything to do with client login, upload documents and information and everything else. So before I take you through these different tabs under client login, there is one part that your client needs to do. When I say client, I'm really talking about the seller. So the seller needs to register on the Harcourts website to be able to access this area. And then the second part would be for you to be able to give them access so they can see everything that you upload under client login. So the first step is really to educate our sellers to go on to the Harcourts website and register themselves. How they're going to do that is, I'm just going to go on the browser and open on the window and go on to the Harcourts global website. So you would ask your clients to go on to harcourts.co.nz. When they're on harcourts.co.nz, on the top right-hand side corner, they'll see a button which says Register. Ask them to click on Register, and on this screen, you would ask them to make their login for the Harcourts website. So it's as simple as putting in their name, their email address, and then their password, and they would need to confirm the password. Click on I have read and agree. I've read and agree to the terms and condition, and click on Register. So once your seller has registered, now they have a login for the Harcourts website. So that's one side of client login, where your seller has registered themselves. The other side of the client login is for you to give them access. How you're going to give them access is, I'm just going to go back to my HarcourtsOne. So under the client login screen tab, you've got these different tabs. The first one is Overview Summary Data. If I scroll down on the screen, there's a section which is Linked Public Accounts. So to give access to your client, you would need to enter their email address here and then click on Add Client Login Email. Now I might just add one to show you. So you type in their email address, click on Add Client Login Email, and that would be added. So one thing that you need to remember is that this email address that you're adding here needs to be exactly the same that the client has registered with on the Harcourts website. That's how they read, that's how it talks to H1. You can add as many client logins as you like. So there may be a case where the property is it's a trust scenario where there are 3-4 sellers, or there's a partnership where there's husband and wife on the title. So you want to give them access. So you can add as many clients to client login as required. It's just that every client will have to go in and register, and you must have the same email address for them to give access to client login. Any questions so far? No? Okay, great. So that's how you would give access to your clients. Now we're going to look at the different aspects of client login. So the first tab, which is the overview summary tab, this is where either yourself or the sales agents would go in and fill in information. So you would see days on market, that's automatically populated. Open homes to date will be automatically populated. Of course, mine's a dummy listing. I haven't done any open homes, so nothing's there. Number of inspections, additional inspection, this would be, you would have to enter that manually. Sorry, additional open homes, you'll have to enter that manually because the system can't read that. And then number of inspections would be this particular tab. So if you have or any of the other agents have added inspections under this tab for this listing, those would be calculated here. Any additional inspections, any offers that may have come through, those numbers you would put in here. Number of website listing visitors, so this will be automatically picked up from the Harcourts website. Once you have updated this information, you would click on Save, and then we are going to move on to the next tab, which is Property Documents. Property documents, now this is probably the most important area in client login, under client login. So there are two parts of property documents. The first section is marketing documents. So either yourself or the sales agent would go in and you can upload any of the marketing documents under this section and give access to your client. So to add any documents under your marketing document section, you would click on the add button next to marketing documents, and this will give you a pop-up screen. Just add in the document name, description, and click on upload file. So when you click on upload file, you can upload that document from wherever it is saved on your computer. Now you'll see there is a section here which says client access. So if I tick this button here, that would give access to the client for this document. If I untick it, then that document will be in H1. However, the client will not be able to access it. So if you look at it, you can actually use this area for more like a property vault for your listings, for your office listings, where you can upload all these documents, and if there's anything you don't want your client to see, can just be there in that property document vault for you to access it anytime later on also if you need to. So that's really it. Once you have uploaded the document, you would click on save, and then you would see the document right here, like I've got one, which is the property press proof. So I've uploaded this and I've given access to my client. So my client can have a look, and if they're happy with it, they can approve it, so on and so forth. From this screen as well, if I have uploaded certain documents and let's say I want to remove access for my client, I can just remove it even after I have uploaded the document. So you do have that flexibility as well. This will show you if your client has viewed this document on the client login portal. And yeah, that's all you can see on the screen. So that's your marketing documents. Now, there would be other documents that your client would need, things like maybe the title, the limb report, any offers that might have come on the property, builder's report. So all those documents can go under other documents. To upload a document under other documents, you will click on the add button next to other documents. So I'm just going to click on add. Now you'll notice that this pop-up screen is different than what I got for the marketing documents. So if you see under other documents, you've got this particular section as well. However, if I just go back and click on the marketing one, it does not have that section. So I'm going to explain that section to you as well. So going back into other documents, add button. So let's say, let's upload a document. So I'm just going to upload a limb report. Your document name would, of course, whatever the document you're uploading. You can add a bit of a description. So it's probably limb report. Click on this button to give access to your client, or you can leave it out if you don't want your client to access this. Now, this area here is something new that has come up, and something that a lot of people, a lot of companies were using a third party for this particular section. So this area is, you would have a lot of prospective buyers who would want certain documents to do with the listing. So any prospective buyer would want a copy of the limb report, would want a copy of the title, rent appraisal. So all those documents that these buyers ask for on a regular basis, you can actually make those available on the public website. And what this would do, that would create a link on the public website. And by clicking on that link, any user, any prospective buyer or anyone can download these files, which would save a lot of time for you and for the listing agent, where you have to email these documents. So let's go through these three options that we have under public visibility. The first one is not visible on the listing, which means that it's under other documents. The client has got access to it. However, it's not available on the listing. No one can request, or no one can download this file. The other option here is anyone can download. So if you choose anyone can download, what this is going to do is it will create a link on the public website. When somebody clicks on that link, they will get a pop-up asking for their contact information. They would need to put in their name, their email address, their phone number, and submit that request. Once they do that, they will get an email with the link for them to download these files. The third option is anyone can request access to download. The only difference between the second and the third option here is, in the second option, the buyer would get an email where there would be a link and they can download the files. In the third option, there would be a link on the website, and when someone clicks on that link, of course, they will fill in their contact information. However, the sales agent, the listing agent, will get an email asking for them to approve this download. So once the sales agent, listing agent approves that, only then the buyer will get an email with the link to download those files. So these are certain different options. You can also copy and paste that link onto your print marketing, onto your signboard, where people can just go and download these files. So it's a brilliant tool. So I'm just going to click on anyone can download. Click on upload file. Pick up the file that you want to upload. Once this hits 100%, we'll click on save. And your limb report has now been uploaded. So I gave client access, so this one's ticked. You can untick it from here as well. This will give you a snapshot of client downloads. So if your seller has downloaded this information from the client login portal, this will show you that. Public access. So this tells you that you have chosen anyone can download. And this will also give you the activity of how many public downloads you've had. You also have the flexibility of downloading the file yourself. If you haven't saved it anywhere else, that's fine. You can always download it later. And if you want to make any changes, you tap on this edit icon. Now, when you have this available and all these people are entering their information, which is important information for sales agents, where you're getting all these contact information for the buyers, for prospective buyers. So under the download activity section, you would get all that information. Now, I'm sorry, mine's a dummy listing, and it's not live, so no one's downloaded it. But when you start using it, you will see the person who's downloaded the file, their name, their email address, and their phone number right here under download activity. Those would also be added to your H1 contact database. So it's a brilliant tool. Under document requests, so if you would have chosen anyone, instead of anyone can download, you would have chosen the third option, then those document requests would show up here with same thing with the person's contact details. So that's how you use the other documents section. Any questions on property documents? This is a very important part of client login. No questions? All right. Moving on to property reports tab. Under property reports, you would want, you would have your written progress reports. So this is something you would ask your sales agents to upload here. Now they can either upload their written progress reports. If they're using the promise tab to create the written progress reports, then that can be uploaded straight away from the promise tab. So how you do that is, I'm just going to move on. I'm just going to click on promise tab to show you that. The promise tab is where you would create your written progress reports. So I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to change it to today's date to show you how you can upload this. I'm going to click on Save Now. So on your promise tab, there is an option at the bottom which says Add to Client Login. So once the sales agent has done the promise report, the written progress report, all they need to do is click on Add to Client Login, and you see how that is syncing with Client Login. Just wait for that to finish. And now go back up onto the Client Login tab. Under the Property Reports tab, you will now see that the 30th April promise report that I've just done has been uploaded straight away. Now, the only thing you would need to do is you would need to come in here and tick this box for your client to be able to access this report. So that's how your promise reports tab, your property reports tab works. The other option would be for them to, if they're doing their written reports outside of H1, they're not using the promise tab, then they can click on the add button and upload it from their computer wherever they've got the written report saved. So that's another option available. The next one is schedule and alerts. Schedule and alerts tab here, you can actually set up future alerts to go out to either the sales agent or the or the seller of the property. How you do that is, so for example, I want to set up a future, let's say next week I've got the auctioneer reserve set meeting with the seller, and I want to send them a reminder a day before the reserve set meeting is. And there is a chance that I might forget, so I can set this up straight away right now. How you do that is click on the add button here. Date, this would be the date of when that event is. So I'm just going to move on to next week, and let's say it's on, sorry, not the next week. Let's say it's on the 9th of May. Time, so you just select a time, what time it is, the meeting. If we just go 1:30 p.m. Event type, so you can choose whatever that event type is. I'll just click on auction, and I might just say reserve set meeting at whatever the description is. Click on client display, and this will be displayed on the client login as well, where the client can see it when they log into the client login portal. Now, under reminders, the first option here is it's asking you, when do you want this reminder to go out? Do you want it to go out an hour before the event, 3 hours, 12 hours, or a day? So whatever you want to set it up as, I'm just going to go 1 day. I want it to go a day before. Recipient type, so as I said, you can either set this up for the consultant or the client. So I'll go client. Reminder type, so the only option is, of course, email. The system cannot make a phone call itself, so it'll have to be an email. And then under the clients, you will see all the clients that you have given access to for this particular listing. So I'm just going to send one out to Minnie. Click on add reminder, and that is set to go out next week on the 8th of May. It'll probably go out around 1:30 p.m. If you want that reminder to go out to Claire as well, who's the other client on the client login, then you would need to repeat the step. And same thing, if you want to set it up for the consultant, you'll have to repeat setting up the reminder. Click on save. and you'll see that this has now been added. So it's a great tool for, because we can get very busy with our daily schedule. So if you set it up now for future and just forget about it. So that's your schedule and alerts. The last tab here is your web advertising. I'm just going to click on web advertising, and this is where you are going to update all the web advertising activity that has happened on the property. Harcourts network website, so this will be picked up automatically because, of course, Harcourts is our website, so our H1 can read the Harcourts website, so we can get the number of hits. Anything else that you want to add, so if your property is being advertised on real estate, on TradeMe, or on any other websites, you would have to come in here and add the links and, of course, the number of hits you've had. So with, for example, TradeMe and real estate, the listing agents would get an email on a weekly basis, which would show you the hits for that particular website. So you can just come in here and update that on a weekly basis. To add these links onto client login, you'll have to do it just once, of course, but you'll just have to update the number of hits on a weekly basis. So to add these links, what you do is click on the add button. Description, so I've got TradeMe, real estate. I might just do TradeMe one more time to give you an example. And here you would just copy and paste the URL of where the property is being advertised. So if it was, for example, I don't even know if I have a TradeMe. I'm just going to go on to one of the Harcourts listings. So you would just go onto your listing, copy this URL for that particular listing, where it's being advertised, go back to H1. Let's say I'll just change it to Harcourts instead to give you guys an example. And where you've got the link, I'm just going to copy and paste that URL of that website. Click on add, and now you'll see that there is a link available, and you just go in and update the number of hits on a weekly basis. What this does is it's very helpful for the client. So when they're accessing the client portal, they can simply click on this link and see how the property looks like, or what the advertising's blurb is on the website. So it gives them, it's very easy access for them. They don't have to go onto real estate and find the listing. They can just click on the link and see their property. So that's really the different tabs of client login. So you work through all of these things, and then, as I said earlier, your client can access it on the Harcourts website. I'm going to show you what the client is going to see on the Harcourts website. But before I move on to that, are there any questions to do with client login on H1? No questions? Great. So I'm going to move on to the Harcourts website, and I'll show you what the client is going to see on the harcourts.co.nz website. So once your client is on the harcourts.co.nz website, they have, of course, created a login already. They have registered. So now, this time, they will need to click on the login button. So they click on login, and here they will be able to add their, of course, they will use their email address and password to log into the client login area. Click on login. And this is what your client is going to see. Now, if your client has a listing, or any client who has a listing, and you've given them access to client login, they will see this listing tab. If you haven't given them access, then they will not be able to see this listing tab here. Your client will click on the listing tab. If they have more than one listings with us, they'll be able to see those, depending on, of course, you've given them access or not. So if they wanted to see, for example, documents to do with 588 Chapel Road, they would click on 588 Chapel Road. And this is what they see. So overview is really the snapshot of your overview summary tab from H1. They can see what the details are, days on the market, open homes to date, number of inspections on the left-hand side. So they work through these different tabs. You've got schedule and alerts. The one that I've just added, you see that has appeared. So if your client is on client login and you've given them access, they can see that there is a reserved set meeting on the 9th at 1:30 p.m. Further up, the web advertising. So these are the links that we added onto our H1. So your client can click on these links and it would take them to the real estate website where the property is being advertised. And on the right-hand side, under hits, they can see the number of hits they've had on these links. Then you've got property documents. So you can see the property documents here. Your client can simply click on the download file for each of these whenever they wish to download. So this really gives them access to all this information, really 24/7. It's an excellent tool for your overseas vendors, saves you a lot of time with sending emails, etc. So try and use this and try and encourage your salespeople to use this as well. Further up under property reports, you can see all these reports that have been added. And again, your client can download files whenever they wish to. My team will show them the listing agent. If there's a team, then you would see more people here. And the last tab on client login is your property images. So this gets uploaded automatically to client login. When you upload pictures on the listing, this gets directly uploaded to client login. So this is again excellent because these high-res images are very difficult to email. So when they come through here, and the client is of course paid for it and they would want access to it. So you can just tell them to go here and download the images if they need it for future purposes or reference purposes. So team, that's really what client login is. I would suggest that in the beginning, when you're starting to use this, perhaps go on to the Harcourts website, register yourselves like I have done, and then you can, for any of the listings, give yourself access to client login so you can see what is happening. You can come here and have a little bit of play around, get familiarized with what the client is going to see. It's just good for you to have access to that. Any questions? Okay, we have a question. Is there any way to hide the photo downloads? So what I'm assuming is if you don't want this here, unfortunately, no, not that I'm aware of. However, I can look into it if there is a way, but I think that's automatically done. And there is no way in the client login section in H1, which would allow you to hide the photos. If I just go on to photos, yeah, I'm afraid not. Yep, sure. So if you don't want the photos to be accessed via client login, I can probably have a chat with you on that separately, and we can take it from there. Any other questions? Well, if there are no more questions, then this really brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you once again, team, for joining in, and I hope you got some key learnings out of today's session. The next webinar is scheduled for Friday, the 25th of May, and you can register from the Harcourts events calendar. In the next webinar, we will cover hazards and hazard reports from the listing, and we'll also look into the open home registers you can do through H1. For today's session, I will email all of you a handout covering which covers everything that we have discussed today. And at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and I'm more than happy to help. Thanks, team. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again next time.